It began on a quiet Tuesday morning when Anna found a small painting on the hallway floor. A child's drawing, vivid, innocent, yet strange. No one in the house painted, no guests, no children. Just her husband, and their dog. The style was too skilled for a toddler. Too emotional to be random. It felt like someone wanted to be seen. That same day, Anna checked the old boxes in the attic. One of them had her late sister's belongings. Inside was a sealed set of watercolor paints, unopened since childhood. She never knew they still had them. And yet the brush inside was wet. That night, unease crept into the house. Not fear, but the kind of sadness that hangs in old air. Just waiting to speak. By Friday, there were three. Three new paintings, each more detailed than the last. One of a red balloon floating alone. Another of two hands reaching, never touching. The third, a child staring from behind a glass window. Each appeared after midnight. Each placed gently at the same spot. Anna never heard a sound. And yet she began to feel watched. But it wasn't a presence of malice. It felt like longing. They set up a camera that night, motion-sensitive, infrared, no blind spots. The next morning, a new painting appeared. But the footage showed nothing. No movement, no heat signatures. Just the hallway, then the painting. Anna watched the tape on loop, hoping for a shadow, a flicker, anything. But silence was all it offered. And in that silence, something whispered, "You're not alone." The fifth painting had something new. In the bottom corner, tiny, barely visible. A name, Leah. Anna felt her breath hitch. She whispered it aloud, and a gust of wind rolled through the house, though no windows were open. Leah, it was the name of the little girl who died here. Decades ago. A girl who loved to paint. A girl no one remembered. That night they heard it, faint footsteps, soft, uneven. Not from upstairs, not from outside, but from the walls, as if a small body walked between beams and brick. The dog barked once, then whimpered. Anna sat still, listening to each creak like it was a heartbeat. No one dared move. Then the faint sound of brush on canvas, coming from the hallway, where no one stood. In the local library's basement, Anna found the record. A faded newspaper, dated November 1972. Local girl dies in studio fire, only her paintings survive. The girl's name, Leah Marin, age 8. Her photo matched the face from the third painting. Big eyes, sad smile. Anna touched the grainy image with shaking fingers. She whispered again, "Leah." And in that quiet moment, her phone buzzed, a motion alert from the hallway camera. Anna rushed home. The footage showed a still hallway. Then, frame by frame, a flicker, a shimmer of light like sunlight on water. Then a handprint on the wall, small, delicate, and the new painting lay below it. A forest this time, with a little girl in the middle, facing away. Behind her, shadows, shapes that looked like other children, watching. The next night's painting showed 6 children, all in grayscale except Leah in color. They stood in a circle, holding hands. No faces, only outlines. Anna's husband grew distant. Something about the images unsettled him. He said they looked familiar, like the missing posters from decades ago. Anna started to search, and what she found chilled her. Each painting matched a child who had vanished near this house, all before 1980. There was one room in the house they never used, always locked. No key ever fit. It was part of the old structure, predating renovations. That night the door stood open. Inside, a canvas. Fresh paint, still drying, and a child's whisper from behind Anna's shoulder. Will you help us finish it? She turned, but the hallway behind her was empty. That night Anna dreamed in color. She walked a long hallway of paintings, each frame whispering. At the end stood Leah, eyes full of sorrow. She reached out a brush, but Anna couldn't move. She woke gasping, her hands stained red. Paint on her fingers. The canvas in the locked room had changed again. Now it showed Anna. Sleeping. Anna began hearing them. Faint voices from the canvas room. Sometimes laughter, sometimes crying. She left her phone recording overnight. At 3:12 a.m., a clear whisper. She's listening now. And then a new painting appeared. It showed the hallway from above, as if from the ceiling. And in the frame's corner was Anna, standing exactly where she was now. A mirror cracked in the guest room. Behind the fractured glass, a boy's face just for a second. Wide eyes, dirty shirt. Gone in a blink. Anna searched old town records and found him. Matthew Dale, missing since 1974. Leah had painted him 2 nights ago. Each face, each ghost, was a story waiting to be told. But who chose them? And why now? One evening, the hallway wall began to leak. Not water, paint. Blue streaks down the plaster. Anna touched it, still wet, fresh. She wiped it off. The next morning, the paint returned. But now it spelled something. Stay. That same word appeared across 5 old paintings. Letters hidden in clouds, curtains, shadows. The house wasn't haunted. It was speaking. Red. It began to appear in every canvas. A crimson thread weaving through the scenes. Across trees, skies, hands. Anna traced it frame to frame, until it led to the basement door. She had never opened it. It creaked slow, heavy. Inside, nothing. But she could feel warmth, like someone breathing close. And then a paintbrush fell from the ceiling, still dripping with red. By now, the paintings numbered 20. Each more emotional, more desperate. Children crying, reaching, hiding. One painting shook Anna. It was her house burning, and in the flames, tiny faces screamed. She hadn't seen it before. It had been buried under the others, like someone didn't want her to find it yet. Why was Leah painting fear instead of beauty? Anna confronted her husband. He looked tired, distant. He finally spoke. I grew up in this house. She froze. He'd never said that. He remembered Leah. He remembered her screams and the fire, but not how it started. He said one thing before walking away. She wasn't alone that night. And no, neither were they. Painting 21 showed something new. 6 children. 5 were familiar. The 6th unknown. His eyes were crossed out. His shirt, a symbol Anna didn't recognize. She asked a local historian. The symbol belonged to an orphanage, burned down in 1965. The boy in the painting never had a name. He wasn't in any records. Just subject 6. But in the canvas, he stared straight at her. Anna noticed something odd in painting 23. Brush strokes formed ridges. She scraped it gently. Beneath the layer, a map. The house, every room, and a red X in the foundation. Below the floor, she showed it to her husband. He paled. That room doesn't exist. But that night, they both heard knocking from beneath the house. They pried the boards open at midnight. Dust, cobwebs, and a small trapdoor sealed in rust. Inside, a room. Cramped dark filled with canvases. Hundreds, all of Leah, all painted by different hands. Children's hands. Anna whispered how many were there. And in the dark, something moved, just out of reach. Watching. In the hidden room, Anna found a child's bed frame. Carved into the wood a name, Ellie. She cross-referenced it with local records. Ellie Cole, reported missing in 1978. Last seen outside this very house. Her face appeared in painting 24. Not crying, smiling, but her smile was wrong. Stretched tight, as if someone else had painted it. Someone who wanted her to seem happy. Ash smears began appearing near the hallway vent. Black streaks shaped like hands. Small hands. Anna claimed them. They returned the next day. Each day darker, until they looked charred. The same night the fire alarm blared at 3 a.m. But there was no smoke. Only the smell of old paint. And the sound of someone sobbing. Just behind the wall. One morning Anna wasn't there. No note. No signs of struggle. Her husband searched the house. Then the basement. And there she was standing in the hidden room. Eyes blank. She didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just held a brush dripping red. The canvas in front of her was painting itself. Stroke by stroke. Line by line. As if guided by invisible hands. They recorded the painting process. At 0.25x speed, a sound emerged. Under the brush strokes was a voice, a child's voice, repeating one word, home, over and over. The painting showed a house, but not theirs. This one was bigger, older, with bars on the windows. Anna's husband recognized it. The orphanage, the place where the story may have started. They visited town records again. An old caretaker led them to a storage cellar. He hesitated, but handed Anna a folder labeled Shelter House 14. Inside, photos. Dozens of children. Some with names, others just numbers. Leah was there. So was the faceless boy. And others who matched the paintings. All documented. But the file had one final page. Stamped, deceased, case closed, never investigate. Tucked inside the folder was a cassette tape. They borrowed an old player. The tape hissed, then static, then sobbing. Children's voices whispering. Then a male voice. They're not lost, they're kept. A slam screams. And then painting sounds. Brush on canvas. One child cries out. She sees us now. Then silence, and the sound of a match lighting, followed by fire. Later that night, Anna found a matchbook tucked in the attic wall. A faded logo, House 14 Children's Studio. Inside, a message written in tiny pencil. They locked the doors. We painted the way out. It was signed M. Just an initial, but enough, because the next night's painting showed children holding fire in their hands, lighting their own escape. They hung the newest painting in the hallway. By morning it had changed. Slightly, the shadows had moved. The doorway in the image was now open. And behind it, two eyes. Watching, Anna touched the canvas. It was cold like glass. She pressed gently, and the paint rippled, as if still wet. She pulled her hand back, and red smeared her palm. Not paint, blood. They tested the hidden room. Clapped, shouted, no echo. Sound just stopped, as if the air refused to carry it. But when they left a recorder overnight, it captured whispers, a conversation between children. One voice said, she's almost ready. Another replied she remembers the fire. Then a third, older. Deepa, she won't leave. She belongs here now. Painting 35 came with no color. Just black, shades of ink layered deep. They turned off the lights, and under infrared the image appeared. Children standing in a ring around a girl. Their mouths wide, screaming, but in the middle was Anna, wearing Leah's old dress. Eyes closed, brush in hand. It wasn't just ghosts painting. Anna was part of the painting now. In a forgotten trunk, Anna found her old sketchbook. She hadn't seen it in decades. Page after page drawn in crayon. But one stood out. A house burning. 6 children at the window. She flipped the cover. In shaky handwriting. Dream I keep having. She was only 7. But the house was shelter 14. Had she seen it before? Or remembered something she wasn't meant to? Anna visited the edge of town. The caretaker led her past the graveyard's oldest row. He pointed to a small stone. No name, just 1972. She laid her hand on it. Cold still, but her vision blurred. She saw fire, children running, a locked door, a man in shadows. She gasped awake on the ground. And the gravestone now read, Alaye, another painting. Same hallway, but this time Anna stood in it. Only this version of her stared directly out. Eyes full of color. She touched the glass, and the figure inside smiled. Just for a moment. Her husband begged her to stop. He said her eyes. They'd challenged. He no longer recognized them. Anna simply whispered, I think I'm remembering who I was. But she had never met Leah. Or had she? At 3:12 a.m. the hallway clock stopped. Exactly when the first painting had appeared. They reset it. It stopped again. Same time. Every night. Anna placed a canvas under the clock. The next morning it held a new scene. A girl's hand touching a clock face. Its hands pointed to 3:12. Beneath it painted in red. Time doesn't forget. The landline rang. No one ever used it. Anna answered. Static. Then a small voice. You remember now. The line cut. Later the voicemail recorded breathing. Then a phrase repeated 3 times. She drew the door. She drew the door. She drew the door. That night painting 39 showed a black door. A child stood beside it holding chalk. Anna whispered, that's my chalk. But she didn't know why. They tore down part of the hallway. Behind the drywall, an old wooden panel. And carved into it, a mural, faded but familiar. 6 children painting. One stood apart. Anna, same hair, same dress from her sketchbook. The figure held a brush aimed at a black doorway. It wasn't paint. It was scorched into the wall. A burned memory hidden for decades. In a dusty envelope, Anna found a letter from her late mother. It read, We left that house for a reason. You wouldn't stop drawing her. Even after the fire. You said she whispered in your dreams. We moved to protect you. To help you forget. But I think she never left you. And now, you're waking up. The whisper room spoke again. Anna sat in it for hours. Brush in hand. The voices no longer frightened her. They guided, told her what to paint, showed her what happened, and who did it. One name kept echoing. Mr. Bell, a man once trusted, a man who ran the studio. The next painting revealed his face, and his hand, holding a match. Anna found a torn sheet in a Bible. Survivors Studio Fire Nov, 1972. Only two names. Leah Marin and Anna Bell. She dropped the page. Bell, her birth name. She had been there. She had survived, but not unmarked. And now the ghosts weren't just haunting. They were remembering. All of them. Together. The house trembled that night. Paintings rattled on the walls. And one by one they turned. No longer scenes, but faces. Each child now staring outward. Eyes full of story, of pain, of fire. Anna stood among them. Not afraid. Not anymore. She whispered, "You're ready now, aren't you?" In the house, I answered. Every light flickered. Every frame glowed. And the door in the painting began to open. Anna searched old town archives. One photo stopped her cold. A man outside Shelter 14. Mr. Bell, still alive in 1985. A note beneath it. Volunteer educator resigned after allegations. No charges. No follow-up. Just silent. But painting 41 showed him again. Older, crueler. Children hiding in corners. And in the middle, Leia. Her brush snapped in two. Paint dripping like blood. In the basement's back wall, Anna found a second door. Narrow, hidden by a false shelf. She squeezed through. Inside, concrete walls and chains. Paintings everywhere. But not on canvas, on walls. Children had drawn here. With fingers, with desperation. She turned and saw a small handprint on her own shoulder. Fresh. An old manila envelope arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside, a photo, Shelter 14's last art class. 7 children. 1 adult. All faces clear except Anna's. Hers was blurred, scratched out. On the back, someone had written, "She lived because she forgot." She flipped the photo, and the image changed. Now every face stared at her, including her own. Anna stopped sleeping. She couldn't. Each time she closed her eyes, she heard the fire. Screams, and the brush against walls. Each morning she woke with paint on her arms. She didn't remember painting, but the canvas always changed. Scene after scene. Now they showed the future. The hallway burning. Her husband screaming. And a child, watching from the stairs. Painting 45 was a family portrait. But it wasn't theirs. 3 children, 2 adults. Dressed in 70s clothes. Anna didn't recognize them. Until the boy's face flickered. Just once, it changed into her husband. Younger, terrified. He saw it too. He whispered, "They made me forget." And he backed away from the canvas. Like it was alive. That night the children's voices grew stronger. No longer whispers. They called her name. Not Anna, but Annie, her childhood name. One voice said, "We waited for you." Another added, "You promised to come back." Each painting now glowed faintly, pulsing, as if breathing, and on the mirror written in red, "Only one can open the door." The brush Leah always used vanished. Anna searched every room. Nothing. That night her hand ached. She opened her palm, and the brush was there. Old wooden, engraved with the name Annie B. Her name, not Leah's. Anna looked into the hallway mirror, and for a moment, she saw herself painting, with Leah behind her, smiling. Painting 48 was different. Thick, violent strokes, black and red everywhere. It hummed, literally, a deep vibration. When Anna touched it, a sound exploded in her ears. A scream, one she had heard as a child. Her own voice, recorded, trapped in paint. She collapsed, and when she woke, the canvas had shifted. Now it showed the house, burning again. But this time, she was inside. At dawn, ash trailed from the hallway to the basement. Footprints, small, bare. Anna followed them to the canvas room. Every painting now pointed inward, toward one unfinished piece. Blank, except for a single message. Finish the door. The brush was there, waiting, dripping. She picked it up and heard Leah's voice. If you paint it, we'll finally be free. Painting 50. Final layer. Anna dipped the brush. The air turned heavy. The walls posed. She painted a black arch, a doorknob, a shadow behind it. The moment it was done, a gust blew through the house. Lights shattered, voices wept, and the door in the hallway opened. Inside, only darkness and the smell of burnt paint. Anna stepped through the painted door. Cold air swallowed her. No lights, no sound, just the scent of charcoal and oil. She wasn't in her house anymore. She stood in the studio. The original Shelter 14. Walls scorched, brushes scattered, and around her, the 6 children. Silent, waiting. Leah stepped forward and whispered, "You remembered. Now you can choose." The room was frozen in time. A palette still wet. A candle still burning. Anna walked past a mirror and saw herself as a child. 8 years old. Hands covered in paint. Leah's voice came again. "We painted our truth, but you erased it." And on the wall, a single phrase in red. "Only the witness can open the door for the lost." A voice echoed in the dark. "Rough, sharp, you shouldn't be here." It was him, Mr. Bell, but not alive, not dead, trapped. Anna turned slowly. A shadow stood across the room. Empty eyes, paint dripping from his mouth. He hissed, "They were mine. They obeyed me." And the children stepped behind Anna, trembling, but no longer afraid. The studio walls began to burn, flames licking the ceiling. Same as that night. But this time Anna didn't run. She remembered it now. The locked door, the children pounding, crying. Mr. Bell holding the key. And Anna, hiding. She screamed, "No more hiding." And the fire froze midair. Leah reached out. "It's your choice. Stay or set us free." Anna turned to the canvas behind her. A final piece waited. Blank, she began to paint. Not what she saw, but what she remembered. The door, the screams, the match, and her own hand, frozen in fear. When she finished, the children's eyes glowed. And Leah whispered, "We forgive you. But do you forgive yourself?" From the other side of the door, she heard him. Her husband, calling her name. Panicked, begging, she turned back. The fire was gone. So were the children. Only Leah remained. "Go if you must," she said. "But part of you will always remain here." Anna touched the doorknob. The hallway was waiting. So was the world. She returned, changed. In her hand, the final canvas. The door, open, light pouring through. She hung it in the hallway. And from that night on, no more paintings appeared. The whispers stopped. The brushes dried. But Anna kept the door unlocked. Just in case. For Leah. For all of them. Because sometimes, art remembers what people choose to forget. Months later, Anna opened an exhibit. She titled it Voices in Paint. 50 original works, each labeled with a child's name. No explanations, no press, just space, silence, and one canvas at the center. Blank, for those still waiting. Some visitors wept. Others couldn't explain why. But every night, someone left a flower beneath the door painting. And sometimes, they swore the frame breathed. On the last day of the exhibit, a girl visited. Quiet, alone. She stared at Leah's portrait for a long time. Then whispered, "I used to dream of her." She turned to Anna. "I think she was my sister." Anna's voice cracked. "What's your name?" The girl smiled. "Ellie," then turned and vanished before reaching the door. All that remained, a small red brush, still wet. That night the hallway door flickered. Not open, but glowing, a soft light pulsing from within. Anna approached it. No fear, only quiet knowing. She placed the final canvas beside it and whispered, "I remember all of you." Then turned away. And for the first time in 50 nights, she slept peacefully in the house once haunted. Exhaled. For the first time in months, Anna didn't dream. No voices, no fire, just silence. She woke to sunlight and a sense of something missing. The hallway was quiet. No painting, no brush, only the faint scent of lavender. Leah's favorite. She walked outside barefoot. And for a brief moment, the air shimmered, like someone had just left. That morning one frame cracked. The painting of the door. Hairline fissures down the center. Anna touched it. It felt like skin. Warm, alive. She whispered, "Are you still here?" A breeze rolled through the house. Every light flickered once, then settled. Nothing more. But the crack in the painting stayed open. A package arrived with no name. Inside, documents. The original case files from Shelter 14. Unredacted. Dozens of children. Dozens of disappearances. All closed within weeks. All labeled as accidents. But now, with Anna's paintings, there was proof, not of murder, but of memory. What the brush remembered, the world could not deny. And for the first time, the ghosts had a voice. A journalist showed up at Anna's door. Young, determined. She had heard rumors of haunted art. Anna handed her a canvas. The one Leah painted first. No explanation. No story. "Write what you see," Anna said. The girl wept as she looked at it. She didn't know why, but the truth was in the colors. A month later, the exhibit reopened. Now with names, histories, a timeline. People came from all over. Not for horror, but to grieve, to remember. Anna stood quietly in the corner, watching each person stop. Slowly, silently, and cry. The final piece, still blank, remained untouched. But every night, one brush stroke appeared. Someone was still painting. One evening, a woman in black visited. Elderly, silent, she touched Leah's portrait and whispered, "She was my sister's child," then left without another word. Anna found a note tucked under the frame. It read, "She painted until her fingers bled." But no one ever listened. No, they were listening. It rained that night. Soft, gentle, and for once it felt healing. The hallway glistened. The cracked painting reflected light like stained glass. Anna sat beneath it, eyes closed, and for a moment, she heard laughter. Not screams, not cries, but laughter. children playing. And then it faded. Not gone, just at peace. The doorbell rang. A boy stood there. No parents, no car nearby. He said one thing. I dream in red. Do you? Anna invited him in. He walked straight to the cracked canvas, stared at it, touched it, then smiled. I think it's done now. He turned to leave, and Anna whispered, What's your name? He paused and said, Matthew. Anna woke in the middle of the night. The canvas room glowed. On the wall, one new painting. Sign of peace. 6 children in a field. Hands linked. No fire. No shadows. Just light. And behind them, a 7th figure. Older. Watching with love. It was her, painted in Leia's style. She smiled and turned off the light. In the end, there was no curse, no vengeance, only memory, refusing to fade. The children had painted their pain. Anna had painted their release. And now, the house stood still, quiet, safe, brushes packed, canvas dry, and in the hallway, only one frame remained. Empty, waiting for the next story, the next child, the next voice, ready to be heard. Letters began arriving. Hundreds, from strangers. Some had seen the exhibit. Others just dreamed of it. Children described painting faces they'd never met. Elderly women claimed to remember screams in sleep. Anna read every one. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. The canvas had already answered them. In silence, an archivist reached out. She said, There are no official files on Shelter 14. Anna sent her the photos, the paintings, the voice recordings. A week later, the archivist called again. I found something hidden in the microfilm. It was a drawing. Crude. Child's hand. 6 names scrawled in red. And in the corner, Don't forget us. Tell her. After 50 years, the city reopened the case. Only to close it again. Lack of evidence, they said. But Anna knew. The door had opened. The story had been told. And truth, once painted, doesn't vanish. It lingers, like color beneath fading light. He packed quietly. No anger, no goodbye, just tired eyes. I don't belong here anymore, he said. Anna nodded. She understood. The house was never his. It belonged to memory, to children, to silence. He left a single photo behind. Anna as a child, holding Leah's brush. Even back then, she had been painting the story. Anna opened her journal. The last page, she wrote, I did not save them. I only remembered them. And remembering was enough. She closed the book. The lights flickered gently, like the house agreed. She smiled and placed the journal on the shelf, next to the first painting Leah ever gave her. The canvas room was empty now. No paint, no brushes, just faint stains on the floor. Colors that would never fully fade. Anna stood in the doorway, hands at her sides, and whispered, Thank you, to the ghost, to the girl, to the house, then turned off the light, and left the door open. Weeks later, a boy passed the house. Stopped, looked up, then sat on the curb and began sketching. Quietly, no guidance, no fear. He had never drawn before. But his lines moved like memory, like instinct. Inside the house, a single light flickered. Not to haunt, but to guide. The next morning, the boy found something on his porch, wrapped in old linen. A paintbrush, familiar, worn. He didn't know who left it or why, but he felt cold, and when he dipped it in water, the color that emerged was red. He painted that night, not knowing what would come, not controlling his hand, just letting it guide. And when he finished, he saw it, a black arch, a doorknob, a shadow behind it, exactly as Anna had. The same door, the same beginning. Because some stories don't end, they echo. In a quiet home, a new painting appeared on the floor. Soft strokes, tiny hands, no footsteps, no sound, just color, emotion, longing. The family who lived there had no children, no guests, no brushes, but each morning, another canvas, another story, another voice, finally heard, and somewhere, far beyond the veil, a little girl smiled and kept painting. In a house miles away, a young couple heard faint tapping. Not pipes, not wind, like a brush against wood. The wife followed the sound to the living room. A blank canvas lay on the floor. Neither of them had placed it, and on its surface, a single red line. Thin, perfect, waiting to become something more. Their radio crackled one evening. No station, just static, then piano, soft, melancholic, the same melody from Anna's hallway, recorded years before. The couple didn't know the tune, but their child began humming along. Note for note, she said, a girl taught me in my dream. Her hands were stained with watercolor. A small-town museum reached out to Anna. They wanted to preserve her collection, not as art, but as history, as evidence. Anna hesitated, then agreed on one condition. No edits, no captions, no curation. Let them speak for themselves. The museum agreed, but asked one last thing. Do you still paint? Anna replied, only in dreams. During the exhibit's first week, a lake appeared, right above the painting called The Escape. But there was no hole in the roof. No rain outside, just drops, smelling faintly of smoke. The curator called it coincidence, but visitors swore they heard distant voices. Children, laughing, then crying, then fading, as quickly as they came. One room remained closed to the public. The canvas room, preserved exactly as Anna left it. No lights, no signs, but workers claimed strange things. Faint giggles, flickering bulbs, a smell of burnt paper. One janitor quit after finding a wet brush. Hovering in midair, still dripping, with red, a woman visited the gallery at closing. No ID, no appointment. She walked to Leah's portrait and began crying. She said, my daughter painted the same face. 40 years ago. She showed a photo, a crayon sketch. Same eyes, same dress. The staff asked her name. She paused, Bethany, then added, please tell her we never stopped waiting. A private collector made an offer. 7 figures, to buy all the haunted canvases. Anna declined. They're not mine to sell, she said. He warned her. Stories fade. People forget. She smiled softly. Not this time. That night a new painting appeared in the museum. A man in a suit, eyes hollow. Behind him, a canvas burning. Anna wrote a final letter before she vanished. No return address. No signature. Only this. Memory is not a ghost. It is a hand reaching back, begging to be held. If you see a door, paint it. If you hear a name, say it. And if you dream in red, listen. The letter ended with one small word. Leah. A new piece arrived at the museum. No sender, just a frame, empty. But staff noticed something odd. People stood in front of it. For minutes, some cried, others gasped. One child said, "There's a little girl waving." The curator tested the glass. It wasn't glass. It was canvas, translucent, alive, at 3:12 a.m. each night. Guards heard faint sounds, a gentle swish, like brush on linen. They searched. Nothing moved. No intruders. Just that sound, like someone finishing a painting. Long after everyone had gone home, they stopped checking after a while, because whatever it was, wasn't meant to be interrupted. Visitors began leaving red ribbons at Leah's frame. No one asked them to. No trend, no campaign, just instinct. Within weeks, hundreds hung along the gallery wall. A soft river of memory. Someone wrote beside them, "This is not a shrine. It's a thank you." And every night, the ribbon pile shifted. Just a little. One evening it rained inside the museum. Only in the canvas room. Only for a minute. Visitors caught drops in their palms. They smelled like ash and violets. Children giggled. An old man cried. And in the center of the room, where no painting hung, a small puddle formed. In its reflection, a little girl, walking away. In the courtyard behind the gallery, a tree bloomed out of season. Its bark was streaked with color. Red, blue, yellow, like dried paint. No one planted it, but a plaque appeared at its base. Every brushstroke lives somewhere. Some bloom. Anna's name was never mentioned. But everyone understood. On the anniversary of the fire, the air shifted. Visitors heard nothing. And then, one voice, a child, clear as glass. She said, "We remember you." And the lights dimmed gently. Not haunted, not cursed, just held, softly, by the past. At the center of the final exhibit, a single plaque reads, "This is where color sleeps, where sorrow dries, where children once trapped learn to be sane." No one speaks aloud in that room. They walk slowly, hold hands, and if you look long enough, you'll see brushstrokes forming just beneath the surface. Still moving, still remembering. Years passed. The gallery changed. Staff rotated. Visitors faded. But one morning, an old woman arrived. Gray hair, steady eyes. She walked the halls slowly, then stood before the final painting. The door. She touched it gently and whispered, "I'm ready." No one else saw her. But that night, the painting shifted. The door was gone. Only light remained. Some say the ghost moved on. Others say she never left. That in quiet homes across the world, blank canvases still appear. In nurseries, in attics, on lonely porches. And children, with no memory of Shelter 14, draw strange things, always in red. They smile, as if someone were guiding their hand. And when asked why, they simply say, "She's helping me." Back in the gallery, one frame remains empty. Always has, always will. It's not a mistake. It's a promise that every voice deserves to be heard. That some memories choose canvas when words fail. And if you ever pass that room and feel the air shift, don't be afraid. Just listen, because somewhere a child is still painting, and the story isn't quite finished. In a quiet school across the country, a teacher found a painting tacked to the classroom wall. She hadn't seen it before. A small door, shadows around it, no signature. But her student, 6 years old, said, "I didn't paint it." She did. When asked who, he only shrugged and whispered, "She wants to tell her story again." A painter in Vermont opened an anonymous package. Inside, a single brush, wrapped in linen, stained red. No note. That night he dreamt of a house on fire. Children at the window. A girl calling his name. He hadn't painted in years. But the next morning, his canvas was no longer blank. Lines had appeared. Shapes, familiar eyes, and a whisper, "Remember what they forgot." A critic known for his harsh reviews visited the gallery. He stood before Leia's painting and cried. He couldn't explain it, couldn't describe what he felt, only that he saw someone he had lost, and the painting somehow. No, a girl in foster care hadn't spoken in 3 years. But when shown a print of Leia's forest painting, she reached out and said, "She walks there." Her therapist asked, "Who?" She whispered, "The one who paints sadness." And for the first time in months, the girl smiled. One of the gallery's blank frames changed. No paint, no color, just a signature, written in looping red script. Leia. It hadn't been there the night before, and none of the staff had keys to the room. A guest claimed they saw a child leave just before dawn. No face, no voice, only a shadow holding a brush. A thrift store owner found an old sketchbook with a lock. Inside, pages torn, burned, smeared. But one remained intact. A group of children standing around a fire. Each had blank eyes, but one wore a red ribbon. It matched the one in the gallery. When she showed it to visitors, a small boy pointed and said, "That's me. I dreamed that last night." In a rented house, a family opened a sealed attic. Dozens of rolled canvases lined the walls. None were signed, all in red, black, and gold. The mother unrolled one and gasped. It was her childhood bedroom, exactly as she remembered. Even the broken lamp, even the stuffed rabbit. But she had never drawn it. And the date marked 1972. A new volunteer at the gallery asked to clean the canvas room. No one told her the history. No warnings, no stories. But when she entered, she stood still for minutes and whispered, "I've been here before." She had no memory of the exhibit, but the brushes called her by name. An artist tried to replicate the haunted style. Same colors, same brushstroke, but his canvases cracked, split, warped, and one night, he found his paint dripping upward. His studio smelled of violets. And he never painted again. Some things, he said, aren't meant to be copied, only witnessed. During a local radio show, a segment cut to static. Then a girl's voice, softly, echoed, "Why did you leave me?" The host froze. Listeners called in asking if it was scripted. It was. The station couldn't trace the source. But at 3:12 a.m., the static returned and whispered one word, "Brush." A school janitor found a chalk drawing in the hallway. A door, same as the one in the gallery. No student claimed it, but each time it was washed off. It reappeared the next day, slightly deeper, slightly clearer, until one morning, a handle was drawn, and beside it, a single red fingerprint. A seamstress opened an old sewing kit. Inside, A red thread wound tightly. She never remembered buying it. But when she used it, her hands moved without thought. She embroidered a door. Then eyes. Then fire. She stopped, unraveled it all, burned the thread. But the next morning, it was back in the box, untouched, waiting. An old film reel was discovered in a locked church basement. Silent, black and white, but frame by frame. Children painting on cracked walls. Then fire. Then a girl looking directly at the camera. No one recognized her, but a former Shelter 14 worker whispered, "My God, that's Leah, the real." Melted minutes later. Too hot to touch. One night wind swept through a village. Dust coated the windows. But by morning, each pane showed faint lines. Paint strokes, brief, ephemeral, but one child pressed her hand to the glass and whispered, "She found us." Then the wind stilled, and the images disappeared. In the gallery's storage, an assistant moved a forgotten jar of brushes. She paused, heard something, a hum, like a child singing underwater. The jar was sealed. No liquid, no power, but when she touched it, her vision filled with color. A forest, a door, a fire. She dropped the jar. It didn't break, but the singing continued. A small town bookstore reported a missing journal. It wasn't part of inventory. No barcode, but it appeared one morning. On the shelf marked memoir. Inside handwritten pages. Names, dates, drawings of children. And one phrase repeated 14 times. Let them speak. The book vanished 2 days later. But the drawings were found, taped to the store windows, in red ink. An art supply store received a shipment of red pigment. But it never dried. Every canvas stayed wet. No matter the medium. One employee said, "It feels alive." Customers stopped buying it. But one little girl insisted. "It's the color she likes best," she said. When asked who, she replied, "The girl in the hallway." In a town near the old Shelter 14 grounds, a patch of forest grew overnight. No records, no roots found, but in the center, a single canvas nailed to a tree. It showed a girl walking away, hair blowing in smoke. Below it carved into bark, "She is not gone. She just changed direction." By morning, the canvas was gone, but the wind smelled faintly of watercolor. A poet received a gift from a stranger. A bottle of ink, black, thick, old. He wrote one stanza, and stopped. The pen kept moving. It wrote of fire, of children lost, of silence broken. He never published the poem. He said it wasn't his. It belonged to someone who remembered too much. A mural appeared overnight on a city wall, 12 feet wide. Children standing in front of a door, painted in ash and crimson. No security footage. No one claimed it. But candles and toys began to appear. As if people understood. No plaque, no signature, only a faint phrase written beneath. "She painted for us. Now we paint for her." A teenager began sleepwalking again. But instead of wandering, she painted, brush in hand, eyes closed, canvas full. When she woke, she remembered nothing, except the feeling of someone standing behind her, a small hand guiding her wrist. Each piece showed faces she'd never seen, but one was her own. Renovation workers tore down a wall in an old inn. Behind it, a wooden panel painted with childlike strokes. Fire, Treason. A girl hiding under a staircase. The style matched paintings from Shelter 14. The innkeeper said, "My daughter used to draw just like this. But she died before we moved here." No one answered. But that night, her old music box began to play. On its own, at a gallery in Europe. A tourist stared at Leah's portrait for hours. She didn't move, didn't blink. The staff approached her gently. She finally said, "She's waiting for someone to answer." Then fainted. When she awoke, she spoke Leah's full name. But no one had told her. And in her pocket, a folded paper, a sketch, signed A.B. A house fire destroyed everything. Walls, furniture, memories, but one thing survived. A single canvas, charred around the edges, but untouched in the center. It showed 6 children smiling. Behind them, a door with red light pouring out. The fire chief called it impossible. The family called it a miracle. But the daughter just called it Leah. A teacher left her chalk on the board overnight. The next morning, words had appeared. Don't forget the ones who painted in silence. She checked the cameras. No one entered. But the eraser was wet. And the chalk, still warm, an artist pressed an old brush against the canvas. And heard a whisper, not out loud. Inside, a child's voice soft and trembling. "Can you see me now?" He dropped the brush. Tried again. Silent. But when he painted blindfolded, the voice returned. This time stronger. "Tell my story, please." The gallery security logs showed names not on the guest list. Leah Marin, Matthew Dale, Ellie Cole, all registered, all scanned, but no faces matched. No photos. No one saw them arrive or leave. Just a faint scent of smoke. And paint. And on the wall, the visitor counter reset itself. Back to 0. Then climbed to 7. A toddler pointed at the hallway painting and said her first word. Leah. Her parents froze. No one had spoken that name. They asked her again. She pointed, smiled. Leah's sad. She wants to go home. That night the canvas glowed softly. Just once, then returned to stillness. But in the silence, a brush clicked gently in its jar. Waiting. A poet left her notebook outside during a storm. The pages bled ink. But one didn't. The rain formed words. Say her name. No one had written it. But she did. Aloud, Leah, and the wind dropped. The sky cleared. The pen beside her was dry. But her hand was stained red. In a rural shrine, a visitor lit a candle for lost children. Hours passed. The wick never shortened. No wax dripped. Even the wind couldn't touch it. Locals said nothing. But one elder nodded. She remembers. The shrine keeper checked the candle at midnight. It burned steady. Beside it, a painted matchbox, red ribbon tied, and one word on its side. Forgiven. A man shaving in his bathroom paused. The mirror fogged, but in the steam a shape lingered. A girl, I said, holding a brush. When he wiped the mirror clean, she vanished, but the fog reformed. And this time, she smiled, then turned away. And on the mirror's edge, drawn in fingertip strokes, a small red door. A deaf painter described hearing color. Red sounded like laughter, blue like grief. He painted Leah's last portrait without reference. When asked how, he said, "She told me." Not in words, in warmth. The canvas pulsed faintly in moonlight. As if it breathed, as if it remembered, more than the man who painted it. On a moonless night, a boy wandered from his campsite, found a clearing. At the center, a single easel. Blank, but when he approached, shapes flickered. A hand, a door, a child reaching out. He backed away, ran, but weeks later he drew it. Every detail, even the smell. He didn't know her name, but his drawing was signed. Well, a gallery sold an empty frame. The buyer hung it in her studio, but wherever she moved it, the wall behind began to change. Faint textures, shadow shapes, then color. One morning, the frame was full. A new painting had formed, unprompted, untouched, and in the bottom corner, a child's handprint, red, still wet, encased in glass. Leah's original brush sat on display, but staff noticed something odd. It changed position, slightly, tilted left, then forward, then upright. Security footage showed no movement, but every visitor reported the same thing. It feels like someone's watching. And at 3:12 m, a soft tap echoed from inside the case. 3 times, like a heartbeat. A boy in daycare refused to speak. But every day he drew doors. Red outlines, gold knobs, shadow shapes behind them. His parents worried, until he drew one final picture. 7 doors, 6 closed, 1 open, inside light. He pointed and said, "She went through." It was his first sentence in months, and his last, because the next day, he never drew again. A cracked attic window caught morning light. For just a second, a figure appeared in the glass. A girl holding a palette. Blink gone, but the window now had brushstrokes. Subtle, like fog trapped in glass. And the attic smelled faintly of turpentine and violets, a scent no one could explain. At an estate auction, a sealed envelope was found in a drawer. No name, just the words, "To the one who still remembers." Inside, a single sentence. "She paints because silence burns louder than fire." No one bid on the letter, but a girl took it quietly. And days later, her sketchpad began filling itself. She never told anyone what it drew. A lightning strike hit a museum wing. One wall burned, except for a single canvas. It hadn't been there before. It showed the lightning, the fire, the gallery in flames. And in one corner, a small figure, painting it all. Stav searched for the artist. Found nothing, but a brush lay at the scene. Still warm, still red, still waiting. She dreamed of names she'd never heard. Leah, Ali, Matthew. She saw a hallway, a flame, a whisper, and woke crying when she told her mother. They checked family records. No connection, no reason. But in her school notebook, one page stood out. A door, perfectly drawn, and behind it, 7 faces, all smiling, all watching. A library received a book with no listing, titled "The One Who Paints at Night." No author, no publisher, but inside, stories, dozens, each one ending with a brush stroke. Children checked it out constantly. Some claimed it changed when they read it. Different names, different endings, but always the same message. She remembers. So now, we do too. On her 8th birthday, a girl made a wish. "I want to meet the girl who paints." That night, she found a blank canvas under her bed. No one saw it but her. She painted, and when she woke, the canvas showed her, as a child, holding Leia's hand. They were walking through the door together, smiling. Some night, you'll hear nothing. No wind, no creak, just stillness. But if you listen deeper, there's movement. Not footsteps, not voices, but something brushing across time, across grief, across stories untold. And maybe, just maybe, a hand reaching through canvas, not to scare you, but to say, I see you. Will you see me too? A boy in a quiet town stopped talking. He sat in silence until someone asked why. He said, if I talk, I can't hear her. Who? The one who brushes the air. He pointed to the empty wall. And days later, a painting appeared. Not drawn, not painted, just there, soft outlines, red door, and the boy, standing beside her. An old camcorder tape was found in a church basement, labeled 1973 cleanup. But the footage wasn't cleanup. It was painting. Children, dozens of them, covered in soot, using burnt brushes. One looked up. Leah, she mouthed something, but no audio survived, except for one whisper at the end. Tell them. The tape corroded hours later, but the whisper stayed. In the walls, a couple heard humming on their baby monitor. Softly, a lullaby no one knew. When they entered the room, their daughter was asleep. Beside her crib, a red crayon. They hadn't given her one. And on the wall, in clumsy lines, a small door. Their baby was only 10 months old. In an old typewriter, a blank sheet began to fill. Not typed, not written, drawn, line by line. A hallway, 6 children, a fire in the distance. The paper stopped halfway through and burned, but what remained was a perfect red outline of a hand. Tiny, open, as if waiting to be held. A teacher noticed drawings on an unused desk. Every day, new images appeared, done in red pen. Always a child, always near fire. She erased them, but they returned. One day she left a note. What do you want? The next morning, just one word was written. Vanish. In a donation box, a librarian found a black notebook. No title, no cover. Inside, names. Hundreds, each childlike, each followed by a symbol. A match, a brush, a door. She searched archives. The names matched missing children. Across decades, across towns, and on the last page, her own name, underlined. Beside it, a red ribbon. A museum worker cleaned a glass display. But one fingerprint wouldn't vanish. Small, pressed low, like a child. She used alcohol. Claude's hid. Nothing worked. So she stopped. That night, the glass glowed faintly. And behind it, just for a second, a face smiled back, then vanished. But the smudge stayed, as if saying, I was here, and I still am. A man received a blank envelope. No stamp, no return address. Inside, nothing, just air. But that night, his dreams shifted. He saw a girl at a canvas, painting without hands, just light, and when he woke, his window was fogged. In the center, drawn in breath, a red door, half open. A drought dried a small river for the first time in 60 years. At the bottom, a stone wall, and painted on it, faded but visible, 7 children, each holding hands, each facing the same direction. One figure stood apart, hair tied in ribbon, brush in hand, still pointing toward something unseen. Security cameras at a train station caught a girl walking alone. But she cast no shadow. She touched a pillar, paused, then walked away. Hours later, a drawing appeared on that very wall. A frame, a window, and beneath it, the words, "She never left. She just walks where we don't look." A gallery installed an interactive piece. But no tech was connected. Still, it reacted to whispers, to footsteps. When someone said Leah, the canvas warmed. Someone said Matthew, and the colors shifted. A skeptic clapped. The lights dimmed. No sensors, no systems, just memory, alive in paint. Because sometimes, art doesn't reflect. It lessens. A dying woman requested one thing. A blank canvas. She stared at it for hours. Never touched it. Just smiled. And passed. But when nurses returned, the canvas had changed. A red path. 7 children. One woman standing behind them. Guiding. The canvas was warm. And no one ever moved it again. An old piano began playing on its own. Same 4 notes. Again and again. A child sang along. Words no one recognized. The tune matched a painting in the gallery. The one of Leah, in a field. Somehow, the melody and image were the same story, told in sound, in color, in silence. Late at night, a janitor passed the gallery hall. All dark, except one frame. It glowed, not with light, with something softer. Memory, maybe. He approached. The frame was empty, but it pulled at him like gravity, and he whispered, "I remember," though he didn't know what. The glow faded, but the warmth stayed, like something had heard him and let go. One morning, clouds formed a strange shape. A door, clear, framed in light. Photos went viral, but children noticed something more. They pointed, laughed, said, "She's finally going home." Adults didn't see it, but the sky stayed that way for exactly 1 minute, then scattered, and in a quiet corner of the world, a paintbrush fell gently to the ground. Every frame in the old gallery gathered dust, except one, the door painting. Staff stopped trying to clean it. It stayed spotless, as if the air wouldn't dare touch it. Visitors lined in. Some claimed to smell violets. Others smoke. No explanation. Only one note appeared taped beside it. "She comes back for those who remember." A boy was found in his room, asleep, but painting, eyes closed, brush moving gently. He didn't wake until the final stroke. Then he smiled and said, "She's safe now." The canvas showed a child in a field, facing sunrise. The boy didn't recognize her, but when asked her name, he whispered, "Leah," in a flea market. A woman found a postcard with no stamp. On the back, a child's handwriting. "Dear Anna, I finished the last one. You were right. The light is soft here. Thank you." No return address. No date. She flipped it over. It showed a red door, half open. Inside, sunlight. An antique dealer opened a crate marked "School Supplies." Inside, a painter's palette. Old, cracked, but the paint hadn't dried. Still wet, still warm. The colors matched the hallway series. He tried to sell it, but no buyer kept it long. They all returned it. Each said the same thing. "It hums when I sleep." A child with no talent for art suddenly sketched a perfect hallway. Door, shadows, light. His teacher asked, Where did you learn that? He shrugged. I didn't. She held my hand. He never drew again. But the sketch was framed, hung quietly, and visitors sometimes swear. They see movement behind the drawn door. An artist moved into a new apartment. Each night at 3:12, he smelled paint. Not fresh, old, like memory. No legs, no neighbors working. Just the scent and dreams of firelight. One night he left a blank canvas on the floor. By morning, a red fingerprint appeared. Small, centered, perfect. A seamstress left a spool of red thread on her table. The next day, it had moved. No one else lived with her. She laughed it off, until it spelled a word. Paint. The thread curved across the wood. Intentional, delicate. She burned it, but 3 days later, it returned. Same table, same curve, same word. Waiting. During a crowded gallery tour, a girl froze in front of Leia's painting. She whispered, "She's not trapped. She's guiding." No one had said the name. No label marked it. When asked how she knew, the girl said, "She told me in the quiet place," and walked away, leaving behind a crayon, red, in summer heat. One gallery frame stayed cold. Not the room, just the wood. Every person who touched it shivered. One visitor said, "It feels like something wants to stay." That night, the frame fogged from within, and a soft shape emerged. Not a face, but a hand, pressing gently. Then, gone, a child knocked over a jar of old brushes. It made music, clear, soft, not clatter, melody. She picked up one brush, held it to her ear, smiled. It's singing. No one else heard it. But when she dipped it into water, color swirled, a perfect red spiral, moving on its own. A storm shattered a gallery window. Rain poured in. Wind knocked down lights. But one canvas remained untouched, perfectly dry. It wasn't part of the exhibit. No one knew where it came from. It showed a child, standing in the storm, but surrounded by calm. And in her hand, a match. A bus driver reported seeing children in the morning fog. 7 of them, walking single file. No school nearby. No footprints left. But when he returned later, he found a crumpled drawing on the bus floor. It showed the children, and one adult behind them, guiding, smiling, brush in hand. A preschool teacher found red crayon marks all over the floor. Strange shapes, doors, eyes, brushes, but no child had red in their supply. She checked every box. Nothing. That night, she took home one of the drawings, hung it on her fridge. At 3:12 a.m., the fridge door creaked open, and on the floor, a brand new red crayon. In an abandoned school, a photographer captured dust patterns on a chalkboard. Later, when he checked the image, a name had appeared. Leia. It hadn't been there. Wasn't scratched. Just formed. And in the next shot, he saw his own reflection, with a small hand resting on his shoulder. A student turned in a final art project. A single sketch. Simple. Charcoal. A girl, standing at the edge of a burning building. Behind her, children. Save. The teacher asked, "Who is she?" The student replied, "I don't know, but she wanted me to draw it." The teacher placed it in a folder, labeled it. She stayed so they could leave. A family's antique clock stopped working, always at 3:12 a.m. They reset it, repaired it, replaced it. but it always returned to the same time. One night, they stopped fighting it, let it tick backward, and at 3:12, a painting appeared on their doorstep. Unsigned, but familiar, a red ribbon tied to the frame. A child found an old matchbox on the sidewalk. Worn, stamped with a painted door. He struck a match. It sparked, but didn't light. He tried again. Nothing, until he whispered, "Leah." The flame bloomed brief blue, silent. He dropped it, and in the smoke, a faint outline of a girl. Smiling, then gone. An artist stared at her finished piece. Perfect, balanced, complete, but a single red line appeared overnight. Thin, intentional. It didn't match the palette. Didn't match her hand. She left it, signed it beside the stroke. For her, that painting sold before dawn. But she never took credit. Some art, she said, signs itself. A restorer flipped a canvas to examine its frame. Found faint imprints, as if eyes had been pressed against the back. Soft, human, too small. She kept quiet, but at night, the canvas glowed faintly. And if anyone looked closely, they saw more than paint. They saw memory, layered deep, waiting, watching, alive. A nonverbal child pointed to a color chart and cried. Red, gold, ash. She couldn't say names. But when given paint, she created a hallway, a girl, a door. Her mother wept, not from fear, but recognition. The child had never seen the gallery, but painted it, from memory, not her own. A new family repainted their basement wall. White, blank, but within a week, images bled through. Sketches, children, fire. They painted again. Again it returned. Not as a threat, just a story, too loud to silence. They hung a single frame in the center. Empty, and the wall finally rested. A gallery had one window, but no view. Just a brick wall. One night, a light shimmered through it. Inside the reflection, a girl with a paintbrush. She waved once, then turned away. By morning, the window was clear again, but the floor beneath it held red footprints, leading nowhere. The gallery's digital visitor log reset itself. Thousands of names gone, all replaced with one. Leah, timestamp, 3:12 a.m. Repeated, hundreds of times. The system couldn't be hacked. But the night guard said, I think she wants to be the one who remembers us now. Some say there's a hallway in the gallery that shouldn't exist. Longer than the building allows. No doors, just paintings, old, unlabeled. Each night, a new one appears. No staff places them. No cameras capture movement. But if you walk far enough, you'll hear it, a brush, moving in silence. And if you turn around, you'll find you're not alone. On the gallery ceiling, a final panel was painted. No one knew when or who. It showed a night sky, full of brush strokes, stars shaped like tiny children. In the center, a door, open, and above it, one phrase, if they are seen, they are not lost. And beneath it, 7 names, painted in red. A sketchbook was found on a park bench. Every page blank, except the last, a single sentence. You draw the next part. Someone took it home, left it unopened for weeks, until one night, they dreamed and read. And by morning, the first page had changed. A door, half open, and a brush, waiting on the floor, in an old government archive. A clerk found a file that wasn't listed. Inside, photos, drawings, and a note. She still paints. We stopped trying to explain it. The folder vanished after one day, but the room where it sat smelled faintly of firewood and childhood. A private collector who owned dozens of haunted pieces donated them anonymously, left a note. They belonged to everyone. The gallery displayed them without glass, without frames, just raw canvas, humming in silence. Visitors stopped to listen, not for sound, but for presence, and many swore they felt a hand rest gently on theirs. As they looked, in soundproof rooms, recorders picked up a new signal, a rhythm, soft, like bristles across cloth. When sped up, it formed a melody, one known only to Leia. She hadn't played it in life, but somehow, the paint had remembered. And now, the silence played it back. A newborn cried every night at the same time. 3:12 a.m. Then one night, she didn't. Instead, she whispered her first word. Not mama, not daughter, but Leah. No one in the house had ever spoken it. But something had. An antique cradle began to move on its own. Always at dawn. Always 3 soft rocks. Then stillness. When opened, a faint smell rose. Old paint. The family never sold it. They just let it be, because not all hauntings are cruel. Some are lullaby, with a brush stroke instead of a voice. A diary was found in the ruins of Shelter 14. Waterlogged, charred, but one sentence remained. They painted so they wouldn't disappear. No date, no signature, but the ink glowed faintly, as if defying time itself. Because even ash remembers what fire tries to erase. A child stared at a portrait in the hallway. Said, she blinked. The parents laughed, until they saw it too. A slow, soft blink. Not threatening, just aware. The next day, the painting was gone. Only the frame remained. Empty, but warm, even when covered. The door painting returns. New canvases, fresh paint, different hands, but same door, same red. It's not a warning, not a trap, just an invitation. To remember, to listen, and maybe to answer. A storyteller sat before a blank page, pen in hand, no idea what to write. But the ink moved anyway. Words appeared, paintings, children, fire, a girl with a ribbon. He didn't stop it, didn't question, because he knew this story was never his. He was just the next one to carry the brush. Look closely. Every painting, every hallway, every stroke. She's there. Sometimes a hand, sometimes a shadow, sometimes just a whisper of red. But always, Leah, not to haunt, not to frighten, but to say, I made it through. So will you. And in that soft promise, the canvas breathes. One last painting, hung in a quiet room. No label, no light, just stillness. It shows nothing at first. But if you stand long enough, you'll see it. A child, holding a brush, offering it to you. No fear, no words, just a question. Will you take it? Because some stories never end. They only wait for someone to begin again.